Hi, I'm Adam, and this is The Wood Shop. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a hand-turned wooden pen. But first, we need to talk a little bit about safety. The first thing you're going to need to know about safety is clothing. There's a lot of moving parts in a wood shop. You have saws, you have drills. You don't want any loose-fitting clothes. You want all your clothes to be fairly tight-fitting, nothing too baggy, no bracelets or anything that's going to get caught. You want hearing protection, maybe gloves and something to wear over the front to make sure that everything's protected. A good example of protective clothing is an apron such as this one I'm putting on here. Let's get to work. The primary tools needed are a pen kit, cutting tool, drill bit, mandrel bar, and bushings. Optional items include a barrel trimmer, super glue, and accelerant. Next, you're going to want to pick what kind of material you want to use. There's many types of wood varying in color and grain that will make each pen unique. So now that we've talked a little bit about safety and some of the materials you can use, let's actually get into making the pen. The first step in making a pen is preparing the blank for turning. Lay out your pen kit according to the diagram on the instructions that are included. Use the brass tubes to measure and mark where you will need to cut. Then, cut the blank using a bandsaw. You can use a jig to help make an even cut that will make marking and drilling easier. After you cut your blank, use each half to find the center point for drilling. This can be simply done by drawing a straight line across the ends of the blanks in an X pattern. Use that mark to drill through the center of your pens. Before you drill, however, check the instructions for what size drill bits you need. Every pen kit has unique size bushings, so you will have to drill the right sized holes. Once you are done drilling your blank, you will then have to insert the brass tubes. One thing that helps keep the tubes in the blanks is roughing up the surface with some low grit sandpaper. Once you have created a rough surface on the tubes, coat them one by one with super glue and insert them into the blank. But don't just push them inside. Insert the tube in one end and gently spread the glue inside by rotating the tube. Do this to both ends, and once you have coated the inside of the blank, press the tube completely inside, leaving a little room at the top for trimming. Once you have allowed the glue to dry, you will need to trim the ends down even with the brass tubes. An optional tool that will make cleaning up the ends of your blanks easier is a barrel trimmer. This device can trim down the ends of your blanks flush with the brass tubes. You can also do this with a sander, but the barrel trimmer is quicker and more accurate. After you have made the ends of your blank flush with the tubes, you can prepare them even further by placing them on the bushings and rough sanding the corners off. The more round an object is, the easier it is to turn. Now that we have prepared our blank, it's time to start turning. Use the bushings to mount the blank onto the mandrel bar in the lathe. Move the tailstock and lock it into place, and ensure that your tool rest is adjusted so the cutting edge of your tool is right at the center of the blank. Now we're ready to turn. When turning the blank, use slow, easy movements and don't push too hard. This can actually cause the wood to shatter and destroy your project. Let the tool do the work. Rough down your tubes until they are a little bit wider than the bushings. This way, you can sand it down to almost perfect. Using sandpaper from grit 150 to about 600 is the best way to get the wood portion of your pen to look very nice. Each time you move up a grit, be sure to stop and sand your pen across with the grain. This will take out any excess sanding rings. Once you've finished up to 600 grit, put a coat of teak oil on before we start the final finishing. There are many ways to finish a pen. You can use resin, wax, or an acrylic coat. For this pen, I've chosen the acrylic. To apply acrylic, or CA, turn your lathe onto a low speed and slowly drizzle just a small amount of glue onto the pen as you move from side to side. Rub that little bit in and then move on to the upper blank. But be sure to allow enough time for each coat to dry completely before applying the next. Once you have put 10 to 15 coats on, you are nearly finished. One of the last steps to making a pen after you've put the acrylic on is doing a wet sanding. I use micro mesh sanding pads. After this is done, take your pen off the mandrel bar and carefully separate the wood from the bushings. Then all that's left is pressing the pen together and final assembly. And just like that, you've created a functional work of art.